Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and in today's episode, I want to tackle production design within film and how to approach it. See, recently, Team Deakins, the podcast hosted by James and Roger Deakins, had on Burt, who is a production designer for movies such as Mank, The Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and just a plethora of just so many movies, right? And they interviewed him, and there was something that he said that really resonated with me. And, I'm not a production designer, but I am a filmmaker. And as a director, it kind of opened up my mind to how to approach set design and so forth, right? Now, before I talk about it, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already done so. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me, as I hope it does to you. So let's talk about this. I've linked to the interview itself in the description, so you can listen to the full thing because there's just so many wonderful, wonderful nuggets. However, there was one thing that really did stand out, and it was this idea that, if you're doing set design for, let's say, the 1960s, you shouldn't have every piece of furniture and architecture and so forth literally be, if it was set in 1962, you shouldn't have everything be as if it was bought in 1962. And it's well, why not? It sets the mood and so forth. Well, think about it this way. Today, right, 2021, when you go into someone's home, probably not that often given the pandemic, but imagine for a second, think back to pre-pandemic, when you would visit people's homes, there was different styles, right? And, some people had more modern furniture that was brand new of the time. Other people had furniture that was 5 years. Some people had furniture that was 10 years old, 20, whatever the case may be, right? Our homes look different. And so by that notion, when you think about doing set design for the 1960s, maybe there's a character that has furniture that's from the 50s or someone from the 40s, right? So it's a mix and match of different things, and you want to utilize that to highlight the character. Now, something like the Mad Men TV show is a hyper-stylized version of the 60s and so forth, and so, yes, it's going to really push that envelope, but if you're going for a more realistic version of it, you have to kind of really consider that. And also, really, it's just ultimately, what works and makes sense for the movie, right? Because here's another example that just, that he brought up that boggled my mind. Once Upon a Time in the West, the Sergio Leone spaghetti western film. One of my favorites. If you've never seen it, incredible, incredible movie. And in the opening 10 minutes, it takes place at this train station. Now, it looks like a really decrepit train station where it looks like this thing's been around for a number of years, right? And visually, it conveys the feeling and that connection to the audience and what's kind of about to happen, like this idea of old and new and so forth, right? But in reality, from a truly authentic standpoint, that train station wouldn't really be older than 5, if 10 years. So it should look brand spanking new, and yet it doesn't. In fact, if it did, the scene wouldn't work. And so that the two things that I just mentioned, right? The idea that not all, depending on the time period, not everything should look uniform from that same, the day that it's supposed to take place. And at the same time, make it work for what the scene and the emotion of the scene calls for, I think are very powerful things to keep in mind, whether you're a production designer, whether you're a producer, a film director, all that stuff. Even a screenwriter. As a screenwriter, you have the ability to describe certain key things, right? You don't want to go overboard with it, to dictate kind of what they're seeing, right? And these are all parts. The set design tells the story, same as costuming and props and so forth, right? So this is all part of the toolkit in making a movie. And these two things, when explained by Burt, really stood out to me and just opened up my mind in a way that I hadn't looked at in terms of, for me, as I view films and as I make films. So I'm really excited because it gave me a newfound perspective in terms of how I approach my upcoming film, and also how I see movies now, right? So I'm really grateful for that. But that's the two main takeaways of that interview for me. As I said, I encourage you to go listen to the full thing because you might get something different out of it, right? Anyway, please feel free to share your thoughts or ask questions. You can do so in the comments section or hit me up on social media at Svitek. Would love to hear from you. I love whenever you and I get to chat. It's just fun for me, right? Because I don't want this to be just a monologue of me talking. I want it to be a true discussion. So thank you for participating, and I appreciate you and hope to see you next time.